Here we go. All right, all right. Welcome back to Shards and Shenanigans. I'm your host, Christopher. Here's my buddy Kyle. Hey, Kyle.
Hi. Hi.
Well, what are we doing here?
What are we reading today?
Oh, I think I'm diving in to some meals here with Brandon Sanderson, Mistborn, Chapter 30.
Chapter 30, starting with a snack.
Starting with a snack.
As usual.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
So, we were jumping off from last time with 28 and 29, which I think were both good chapters, but they were clearly leading somewhere. And I think it was pretty satisfying to have 30 here to kind of, it kind of...
we have arrived.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's
pretty good stuff.
Yeah,
so, so the snack, more of the Lord Ruler here, talking about his distaste for Rashek and Rashek's distaste for him, and that the other Terracemen, Packmen that he's with, they see, basically what Rashek points out, that Terracemen are superior people and should be dominant rather than subservient. So pretty interesting in the sense that obviously the Lord Ruler has subjugated that people so much to where they are very much subservient to him. And it's interesting to hear that they thought before that they should be superior or are superior and dominant. And, when you hear Says, obviously, who doesn't have any history or, the entire culture is gone, so he didn't grow up with that. So, it makes sense that he doesn't have it, but, he's obviously this great guy and who you just wouldn't imagine him being like, oh, yeah, we're better than you, and, we deserve to be dominating you.
Not say
you guys should all bow. So it's interesting to think of them in that light. And obviously, if I'm the Lord Ruler here, I would be concerned that someone would be saying something like that, So I don't know.
Yeah, well, absolutely, yeah. I think it definitely points out, a little like a awareness of the Terracemen to a degree. It's kind of pointing out, kind of like a fear, and then now we see, however many years later, 2,000 years later or whatever, this is the world we're in, where Sazed, has been pushed down to the brink of extinction. His kind of people, yeah, it's makes a little bit more sense, but not in a good way. Just
no.
What it is.
But as far as snacks go, I don't think we learned a ton of new information. Some of them have
Rashek,
been, I think, juicier than others, but
doesn't like him.
Yeah,
this one's like, all right, we know this guy. It's kind of painting more of a picture of Rashek, and we know that he doesn't trust Rashek, and Rashek kind of, doesn't like him. We gather from his perspective,
right? And so, we're not here for the snacks. We're really here for the meals. That's why we came today, and this was one of the best meals, I think, of the book so far.
Yeah, that's one of my faves for sure. I was thinking about this for a long time.
I know you kept saying yeah, when are you gonna read 30? Can't wait till it just. Yeah. You were excited for this.
Yeah, it's a good one.
How can you stop reading? That's what you said. You're like, how can you just stop?
Yeah.
Don't you want to read on?
I had to dive in. I couldn't pull my eyes away.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think we're in the cusp. This is the start of the standard lunch for me. But
nice. Okay.
TBD. We can make that decision at the end of the book, I think. But I'm calling it here. Chapter 30.
Perfect. So in chapter 30, it's a Vin perspective, and she is at a Venture ball. She is commenting about how majestic and special Keep Venture is, and how it really is a step above the rest. The limelights, which we've talked about in the past, are shining through the stained glass windows, and there's shards of light coming in.
Oh, shards of light. Let's go.
So she's hanging
Shards
out.
and Shenanigans, everybody.
She's thinking that everything here is too perfect, right? Things seem exaggerated and things seem off. And specifically, a couple details, an important detail that instead of regular soldiers kind of standing around, there's haze killers standing around.
Ooh, some misty,
and so
some misty boys in the crowd.
Yeah, it's things have been heightened, and that the standard that Venture has for perfection has been heightened. And so she comments to Sazed, who she's of course here with, that something's certainly wrong,
and Misty
and
Gals.
that, oh yeah, and that there are too many people there, more than normal, because especially over the last couple balls that she's attended, attendance has been dropping due to families pulling out of the city, and kind of fears of this nobility war. So she's saying that it's kind of weird that all these people are actually here today, and Says agrees that there's something weird going on. And so he says he's going to take off for the steward's dinner. She's going to skip her dinner and try to chat with some people. Fun comment from Says here as they're departing of like, I remember a time when you would never skip a meal. Obviously going back to her time as a basically street urchin, bottom of the thieving crew, barely making it.
Kind of
barely
like
staying alive,
that.
scrapping. Yeah. So, but so he takes off, and Vin starts scrambling around looking for people to talk with. And so she goes up to a group, and we've got some new names here. Lord Idrin Cirrus, which is a cousin to the House Alariel. She's danced with him before. He's in a group here, and there's another Lord Yestel, another new name. And so they're there, and they're all kind of giving her the cold shoulder, right? So they don't really want to invite her into the conversation. They actually dismiss her and ignore her, and kind of they all just kind of like, oh, what's that noise? Oh, I guess I gotta go over there. Or, oh, look at the time for me to be anywhere else but talking to you. Like,
oh,
so
cold shoulder.
She's not getting the time of day from these folks, and so it definitely didn't feel right. And she's noticing that it's not just this group that she tried to talk to, but kind of all of the groups are acting weird and are kind of being segregated from each other. It's kind of these small groups, and even that group that left her, they all broke off, but then they reformed into the same group, a short distance away. And she's saying that
being avoided.
Like, yeah, she's being avoided, and I mean everybody's being avoided. Like, everyone's avoiding each other, and that even though the ballroom is kind of packed to the brim with people, everyone is distinctly trying to ignore everyone else. Is how it's written, and so she
tensions are high.
is trying to. Oh yeah, and I didn't know when I was first reading this kind of what was going on. We had kind of ended in this precarious spot with Elend, and he was going to be using his spies to follow her, and kind of what would that mean? And so, I think for me as the reader, I was racing through my mind and thinking, what has gotten out? Did he discover something and people know about her? Or
right, how much time has it been since then, right?
Right. We at this point we didn't have the context. They do start to, I think, here in a little bit talk about how long ago, which this ends up being about a week after the prior ball, so kind of a week after some of the stuff that we had just seen in the previous two chapters. But when I first read this, I was like, well, maybe they're onto her. So that's kind of where my mind was anyway.
Scary. Yeah, no, for sure.
She is wanting to get a better view of what's going on, so she decides to take the stairwell up to the balcony, the same balcony that she had met Elend on for the first time back many chapters ago when they first met. He was reading in the light there by the lantern, and so he's not right there. But she is looking around, and there is another balcony, and that's where the lords and ladies of House Venture do dine. and she does see Elend, and he's sitting there actually dining with his father, and she is pretty incredulous and does not understand why he's doing that. It's obviously kind of against everything that Elend is, and is very, I would say, atypical of him.
Right.
And she does see, while she's looking at that and kind of looking around, she sees Says is moving through the crowd, and she waves at him, and he ends up coming up. And her old buddy Kliss is hanging out up on this same balcony, just kind of down the way. And so she wants to talk to her too, because she's a big gossip, and she's thinking, well, if anyone's going to talk to me at this party, at least Kliss will.
Right.
And so once Says finally gets up there, before she has a chance to talk with Kliss, she hears from Says, and he says that we have missed an important announcement, and that the Hastings are not holding their ball this week. So clearly later this week, they're supposed to have a ball. And Vin's, thinking, well, that's never really happened before. And then we learn House Ilariel has followed suit. Techiel, they're all dead, so they're not having a ball either.
Yeah.
And House Shana, which I think that's a new name for us. They're not in the.
Yeah.
If you go back to chapter 9, I don't think that they're in the. They're in the top there, but
small fries.
They are canceling all of their balls going forward. No balls, and so
we love balls. This sucks.
We do love them, and it sucks that we are not getting them anymore.
Yeah, no more balls.
Everyone's backing out and canceling their balls. Basically, that's what's going on here. That's what Vin is seeing. That's what Says is seeing. That's what we're seeing as the reader, is that these groups, basically, this is the last night or the last public appearance before the House War really kicks off, and that all these small groups are really the alliances that we've seen kind of forming over the last, definitely, 10 or 15 chapters when Vin kind of started attending these things. We're seeing that those small groups, the reason they're not talking to each other is because they are sticking to who they're planning to side with in the war.
Uh-oh.
So lots of, they all came to put in an appearance, but there's no time left for politicking, is how she puts it, or politicking.
Politicking.
And so, Says kind of agrees with this, and Says says, hey, we need to tell Kelsier, like, he's got plans to do some stuff tonight, and if he's not familiar with this news, his actions or plans could go awry. So I'm gonna. They decide together that he should go off and tell Kelsier what's going on, and Vin's gonna stick back and kind of finish the night out, see what she can more find out, but also since this is the last ball, she feels like she needs to stay till at least when everybody else leaves. She can't just leave early, and. So Says takes off, and she is kind of doesn't really know what to do, right? There's no one to talk to. There's really no point in spreading any rumors now, because this thing really is going to kick off, and all of their work and Kelsier's work over the last couple months has certainly is kind of coming to a head here, and so they've kind of have been successful in what they wanted, right? This is kind of the outcome that they were looking for. And she's thinking back on her time as she has been pretending or acting in this role as Lady Valette, and how it's been a dreamlike joy, this entire experience. And, yes, the noblemen are capable of horrible things, and yes, it is frivolous, but she is feeling some dread here that this is going to come to an end. She likes going to the balls. She feels special and like a part of something kind of magical when she goes to these. And so she's really seeing here how, or we're seeing, I should say, how much kind of this has meant to her, and how much she's grown accustomed to attending these things, and how big of an impact I think it's going to have on her by not being able to attend them anymore. So really puts, I think, into perspective how far she's come from when she started to where she is now. Obviously this lowly Ska thief, bottom of a crew, to someone who almost can't even see herself away from this noble world anymore and away from the balls.
Yeah, right. Come a long way. Definitely sees herself, and I think sees herself in lots of other ways too. Like she kind of also sees herself as like the linchpin of the crew's plan, and kind of like a lot of pressure to be like getting this information and kind of like being this plant in the court. I think that's like another side of her as well that she values. But yeah, and I like that you're calling out. She is afraid of the change. She doesn't want this to change, kind of as well. So, but I think we get a couple changes today.
Oh yes, things are moving along, and we're gonna have some quite some fun here and some changes to some characters and relationships. So yeah, it's awesome. Fun. It is awesome. So Vin decides, Seize is gone. She hasn't talked to Lady Kliss yet. But she does see or look back over to Elend, and she thinks, you know what? I'm not going to let him just sit at this table with his father and ignore me, is how she puts it. And so she decides to go over to that balcony, and she kind of stands outside of it in the corridor and gets someone's attention, one of the guests that's dining there at the table, and they kind of nudge Elend, and he looks and sees Vin. He kind of flushes, and then he steps out, excusing himself. So they kind of have this conversation where Elend is essentially breaking it off, right? He is not himself. He's a lot more reserved than usual. He's saying things have changed, and she's very confused. She knows, obviously, that the House War is coming and that's going to happen, but she's saying that, like, that's not happening yet, so I don't know why he's acting this way.
Right.
And I think it reads initially to me, I read it as, House Venture is going to need me. I need to step into my familial role. And I was thinking, based on some of the things we saw in the previous chapters, that maybe Lord Straff had gotten to Elend. His father had kind of finally either convinced him or forced him to take a bigger role or to step into some things. And that's kind of why he was saying this stuff. We'll see maybe that I wasn't quite right when I initially read this. Here in a little bit, we'll see some stuff, I think, here in the next chapter in 31. But that's how I was feeling, I guess, when I first read this.
Yeah,
that was my first take.
Dude, thanks for sharing. Yeah, right. I see. Yeah, I see where you're going there. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Well, and then he says, "My house needs me. It's more important than you are." And I was just like, "Oh, dude, like really sticking the knife in there, dude." Like, and so Vin's obviously very upset, and he turns to go back to dinner, and she's like, "Please don't turn away from me." And this is then when he says, "I know the truth. I know how you've lied about who you are, and I don't really care." He's not angry. He expected this, that she's just playing a game like everybody is, and like he is, and then he walks off. Don't make me embarrass you, Vin, is kind of what he says. And she's numb, she's angry, she's frustrated, she's terrified. And this is, I think, the first little tidbit, which I missed this on the first read through. I'm seeing it now, and I'm connected to some things we're going to see in the next chapters, this chapter and the next chapter, 30 and 31, where she says, "Don't leave. Don't you leave me too."
Right.
And so we'll touch on that here, I think, at the end of 31, and so we'll come back to that. And so he leaves. He goes back out, and he actually doesn't even go to the balcony back to dinner. He says, he's got to go meet his friends again, and so he leaves. And so Vin, she is just like, she's shivering. That's how much emotion is flowing through her with this revelation that Elend is basically kicking her to the curb, doesn't want anything to do with her anymore. And she just, it's someone that she loves, right? Pretty much the only person she's loved for a long time.
Yeah.
And he's kicking her to the curb, and so she's in shock here. And this is when we start to get I want to say a friend, but an old familiar character creeping back into Vin's mind. and that's her brother
Oh,
Rain.
yeah,
So
interesting. Nice
it's
catch.
it's been a hot minute. I mean, we've had a touch or two here where he's creeped in the last couple chapters where he has kind of hit her with some, some of his thoughts, or at least in her own head, she's heard his musings. But it's been very few and far between, and certainly not as much
As it
that
was
we
in, like, the
as we had
beginning.
seen right when
Yeah.
she first met Kelsier and the crew and that kind of
Oh,
stuff. So
definitely.
um but he's popping back in. He's saying, like, of course he left you. Of course you've been abandoned. People are going to betray you. Don't you remember what I taught you? And she's trying to kind of fight back those thoughts and thinking, like, no, it's just what's going on with this war. Like, once it's all over, we'll be back together. And he says, I never came back for you, and he won't
Whoa.
either. And she's saying it
Wow.
feels so real hearing him in her head like that. Like almost she could hear him standing beside her. Um that's how vivid I think the voice is.
Oh, for
Uh,
sure. I think, yeah, definitely. Very vivid.
so I think she's kind of obviously regressing in where she is in her mental state to be having this much. I mean, this level of, I think, trauma that she's experiencing with this, right? This person that she's been building up in her head and kind of justifying who he is and the things that he's done, and some of the things that his family's done, and disassociating him from those things. And she's really built this image of him, and you know because of, I think, all of the emotions and the love and the attraction she has, she's basically put him on a pedestal, and so he's kicked himself off the pedestal at this point. And so to see kind
Yeah.
of his fall from from this high up that she sees him on, I think it's hitting her so hard emotionally and mentally that, like, she's having this actual very apparent regression in her mental state and her
Oh,
mental
sure.
health, I would say,
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
which is sad.
100%. Oh, of course. Yeah, it's very sad because I think, we're rooting for Vin, like she's come so far, like you had said. I mean, definitely right before this happened, we were talking about really how far she'd come from just being surviving on the street and doing all that. So yeah, I know, man. It is sad. Sad to see. Don't like seeing Vin get hurt. Boo.
No, Ben's our favorite.
Yeah, Vin rocks. Team Vin.
She's our favorite. Well, and here she goes. She's getting hurt some more. So Kliss walks up behind her,
Oh yeah.
and
Kick you when you're
Lady
down.
Kliss,
Ugh.
she is saying, "Oh, don't worry. Like, Ellen's gonna get what he deserves." And Vince, thinking that Kliss sounds odd here and a little too measured. And Kliss says, "Deliver a message to your uncle."
Oh.
And then she kind of goes on to say, he's got no allies. I can, he's going to have a difficult time getting intelligence. I could be a good source of that for him. Tell him to send for me. And Vin has the realization, oh, you're an informant. Like, you're not just this foolish gossip person like this girl. You're playing a part. And
Right.
Vin's starting to kind of, I think back through all their interactions, and she's starting to piece together that, oh, like, this all has been an act from this woman.
Right.
And
Kind of
so,
underestimated
Kliss
her
is,
a little bit.
oh, very much. She got played here.
Yeah.
And she's again saying here, Kliss is saying that, tell your uncle I can be kept quiet about things that I know about House Renault for a small fee. And Vin's still kind of in shock, like, oh, you've been duping me this whole time. And but then Vin asks, well, what do you mean what you said earlier about Ellen, that he's going to get what he deserves? And Kliss brings up Shan Alariel and her plan, and but she won't give up the info. She's like, I'm an informant. I got to eat. I need to get paid. And so Vin takes off her sapphire necklace, which is the only thing really she's got on her besides the clothes on her back, and hands it to Kliss, who accepts it and is like, oh, yes, this is very nice indeed. And then she proceeds to tell her that Elend is going to be the first casualty of the House War, and that basically tonight assassins are going to come and take him out. And Vin's like, what? Like, when? How? What are we going to do? Like, that doesn't. She's and Kliss is like, nope. You only give me the one piece of jewelry. I'm not giving you the rest. No more info for you. And so then this is, I think, where Vin probably royally fucked up.
This is when Vin fucked up.
Yeah. She, she gets what she wants out of it, but I think as far as the group and the party and the crew that she's with now, I think they're obviously in a bad position based on what she did, where she used her emotional allomancy, both zinc and brass, to to hit Kliss and soothe away basically everything but fear. She wants to
and then rioting fear
and make her feel like she has to tell Vin that she's so afraid at maybe what Vin will do to her that she's gonna tell her. And so Vin uses this and screams at her, and Kliss immediately is like, oh, an Allomancer. No wonder Renault brought such a distant cousin with him to Luthadel. And so she does end up speaking. She does tell Vin what she wants to know, that basically Alariel Allomancers are going to assassinate him this night tonight.
What?
And he might even be dead already. And if Vin wants revenge, it's not just the Alariels, but she's going to have to go towards after Lord Straff as well.
What?
Which we heard in the last couple chapters that he had made some pretty disparaging comments regarding Elend's death, and how if Elend would have just died, it would have been easier for him, that kind of thing. And so it's
bad.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on in this chapter, and a lot of people, just a lot of things to cover. So, he is, Kliss is saying that, she kind of explains that here about Elend, and Lord Venture is basically wanting to, give the rights to the house or the title to his nephew instead of Elend. Obviously, Elend hasn't done a great job in the past of being a good steward in his role as an heir, and so Venture's basically moving on and being like, no, like I want to make sure that this gets passed on and someone maintains our status here, and so she's passing this info on to Vin. And
right.
It looks like, based on the info that she's got, that they're going to hit him while he's at his philosophy meeting, and that Venture's excited that he's going to be able to get rid of a Hastings and a Lacall too. And but she continues here and says Lord Venture's also in for a surprise. That basically Kliss has heard that Elend has, very interesting books in his possession, things that are going to make the ministry very concerned, and they're going to want to come and poke around, keep Venture, and look around. And it's obviously these books we know that he reads that are very disparaging towards the Lord Ruler,
right.
Books that no one should have. So yeah, it's kicking off, right?
Oh yeah, powder keg. The match is lit, to say the least. Heading towards the powder keg. Hell yeah!
All right, so after hearing this from Kliss, basically Vin just takes off. She is hesitant at first. She's like, because Kliss says, why didn't he just kick you out? Like, why are you gonna go after him? And Vin's like, well, why do I owe him? And then she has the realization, because I love him.
Oh,
because I love him.
Boom.
Young love.
The love bomb. Love conquers all.
She is so she makes her way. She's trying to get to Elend, and there's some back corridors in the keep, but she can't really navigate them because it's a very old keep and kind of like a maze. So she ends up knocking out a window, flying out, flaring her steel to get out through this massive window. It shatters on the ground, super cool. And then she gets up on the roof and she's looking to try to find, a balcony or somewhere on the roof that she thinks might be associated with um, Ellen's room. And so she's kind of searching out, and she decides to search for other Allomancy. So she's burning her bronze as Marsha taught her, and she's searching for any kind of signs. And she's not really seeing anything, and she's thinking, oh, they must have a smoker with them. And she starts to sense something, a pulse in the night, an allomantic pulse. It's very faint, but it's enough. And so she dashes across the rooftop and, flares her pewter. She rips off all of her clothing besides her undergarments. She keeps her coin pouch, and she downs some metal vials here just to make sure she's got all her metals she needs for whatever might be coming up for her. And she's hoping that it's just not too late. And so she sees a group of figures ahead on the rooftop surrounding the skylight, and someone's got a weapon in their hand. And Vin just immediately freaks out. She yells. She does this flying arc where she lands right in the center of all of them. And then it's on.
Yeah, dude, it's on. It's on like Donkey Kong here, dude. We're gonna be flaring some metals. We're gonna be, we're gonna be pushing. We're gonna be pulling. There's gonna be some highfalutin Allomancy here in this time. Pretty dope scene.
Yeah.
It's explosive.
It's awesome.
Sure.
And just like fight scenes in the past, I'm gonna hit the highlights, but move through some of it pretty quick because I think we can again get really too in the details of how cool the scene is.
So
and wow.
So well described.
Yeah, it's very well written.
Yeah, it's really good.
So I'll let Brandon describe it. We won't try to re-describe it too much. We'll just hit the highlights and kind of push through, and that way we can get this chapter wrapped up and then jump into 31. So
we'd be here all day. It's a good one.
Yeah. So she realizes that there's 2 Mistcloaks here, four people total, 2 Mistcloaks, and one of them is Shan Alariel.
Whoa!
And so
big reveal.
Big reveal. She's a Mistborn, and I don't remember in the past we had talked about. I think I had mentioned that we had figured out that she was using emotional allomancy and that she was a Mistine at least.
Yeah.
And I feel like I had said something about but we don't know for sure.
You were close, yeah. I'll be honest. I did my best to keep my cool, but you were you weren't convinced, and I was like, oh, we'll see. Read and find out. I did my best to keep my cool. That was a tough one because I was like, you're right. You were right though. Just because someone uses one power, you'd logic it. Doesn't mean they don't have the other ones.
Yeah,
and it's definitely set
which I
up
think it's going to be obtuse. No, set up to be what?
Obtuse, and just kind of obtuse, hard to see through. You don't really know,
right? If
someone is or they aren't. It takes
and
more than one thing.
I think what I would say, this has got to be a common problem, right?
Sure. Between
how can you say for sure that anybody is just they're a Mistine, they're a thug, or they're a
sure.
Coin shot or whatever. How could you ever truly know
as a Mistborn? No, I don't think unless you caught someone in the act of doing it, right? You wouldn't really know. That'd be the only way. Right here, and I guess the Mistcloaks kind of give it away, but there's that.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So 2 of them are wearing Mistcloaks, one of them Shan. That is a choice. Yeah, they decided to do that tonight, and so. The fight's on, Vin's throwing some coins out. She's throwing them out. And Vin's thinking that, 2 of these guys that are with them, the other 2 that aren't Mistborn, are probably coin shots. And so she's, pushing and pulling on metals and coins and flicking people all over and trying to do stuff. And so she did hit some people with the coins. but they are going to recover here, I think, and jump back into the fight. And they start pushing back on her, and but she does do the the big move here that I want to mention is that this coin shot.
Yeah,
He
this is sick.
Yeah, let me go back a little second. So
She
he tried to push away Vin's. Yeah, he tried to push on Vin's metals, which it just wasn't enough for a good anchor. And she flips the coin and shoots it at him, and he pushed back, but she anchors herself against the bronze roof and flared. And then, like, basically he, like, because she's like the solid object now, because she's bracing herself, when he pushes out on her coin, which is like stuck now, he actually flies backwards instead of the coin flying at her,
so awesome.
And he flies off the roof.
Yeah,
which
she just
because
he yeets him.
Yeah, he's gone. And so because he is just a steel push, he or a coin shot, he can't pull. And so like as he's falling, unless he's got a coin under him or something that he can like push against or something metal down below, he can't pull on anything else to like slow his fall. So he's done.
Yeah, he's out. He's out of the fight. If he's not dead,
Yep.
Probably dead.
And it happened quickly, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh no, it was like bam. I mean, the flare. I just like visually love to see just like the force of energy kind of shoot back against the coin and just launch this dude off. It's really awesome. But yeah, I mean, she's in deep, man. She's fighting 2 Mistings and 2 Allomancers. Like fuck, dude. She's gotta be quick.
Yeah, she's got to be super quick. And so she jumps out of the way of the other coin shot. And she's saying here there's a wounded thug. And I think that's the one that she wounded maybe when she first got there. So maybe there were 5 total instead of 4. I don't know.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I think 2 coin shots and a thug.
Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing. So she shoves him to the side, and he trips and falls into the skylight, this thug. And people are surprised below, and she heard the crash of him hitting the ground inside, and Shan is looking up, and she's smiling, or Vin is smiling evilly at Shan, because Shan is stunned that this is happening. And obviously Shan didn't know that Vin was a Mistborn, and she's saying, like, she's sputtering, like, you. And she's getting angry. So Vin kind of, she understands here what's going on, and she's thinking that she's probably done enough to save Elend, and he's going to hopefully take off and escape. But she's like, I got to get out of here. So she tries to run, but Shan and the other Mistborn are hot on her tail, and they end up following her. And so she wasn't really expecting this. But so she's jumping, down the roof, onto the catwalk below, and they land behind her, and she's thinking, this is not good. Like, they're 2 full trained Mistborns. I've only been training for a couple months. I don't have anything with me, no coins left. I don't have any daggers. Like, this is very, 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 very much not good. And
this is bad.
Super bad. So she burns her iron, does have 1 blue line, and so it's kind of beneath her to her right, and so she yanks on it, and she changes her trajectory down, and she hits this guard who she's pulling off his breastplate, and the only reason he wasn't pulled up to her was because he was like holding on to something here on the catwalk.
Yeah.
And so he kind of collapsed, and he cries out, and so she feels that another Allomantic force is pulling against him, and can kind of see that that's happening, and she hits him, so his hands are loosened, and he's no longer holding onto the battlement, and then he flies up, and so the person that's obviously flying down towards him and is pulling towards him now has the surprise that he, instead of being the solid thing that they could pull off of, is now coming at them, and they're pulling each other closer. They hit in midair and then collapse down to the ground.
That's so
Um,
awesome.
yeah,
It's a great one. She's like, I
it's a
hope
good
that was
move.
Shan.
Yeah, yeah, and then of course not. Shan landed
Yeah.
dexterously, um, right
Danger
next to her,
Shan.
and so um, unfortunately, Shan's still with it, and she's here. So they have this fight here where it's super cool. Where basically um, there's another guard, and they're kind of pushing off of the guards a little bit, and then guards down below see them and are going to start to fire arrows up there. And so Vin's like, "Oh, I've got one thing up my sleeve here. I'm going to use the ATM that Kelsier gave me. I still have it." And so she does it, and Shan jumps into all these she can see where she's going to move, and then Shan immediately opens a vial of her own and counters Vin's Allomancy, or I'm sorry, her ATM. And so now they're in an ATM battle. And so it's kind of just whose ATM is going to run out, because neither one of them can really strike the other. They're moving too quick. But so it's going to kind of take a second here to see what's going to happen. And so the arrows start flying up from down below. They're kind of dodging each other through this ATM battle. And Vin's thinking, okay, my ATM's almost gone. I only have a few seconds left. And so she extinguishes it. And Shan smiles, thinking that Vin's ATM has run out. Yeah. And that she's vulnerable. And so then at that very moment, when Shan thinks Vin's vulnerable, she burns her last bit of ATM. And Shan kind of pauses and is confused. And Vin sees this opening as an arrow streaks through, and Vin caught the real arrow, and rams it down into Shan's chest. So snatches this out of the air because she can see where it's going to be. And Shan's surprised. She probably turned off her own ATM because she thought, Vin was done. Hits Shan in the chest, and she's still upright. She's burning her pewter here, Shan is. And so Vin's like, fuck. And so she rips a sword from the sheath besides a soldier that, they had taken out up on this catwalk. And she jumps forward, and Shan is still dazed, but she raises a hand to push against the sword. And this is exactly what Vin wanted. She let go of it. It was just a distraction, and continues at her. And the second half of the broken arrow that she had already stabbed Shan with broke off, and she's still got it in her hand. And she stabs her again in the chest, this time likely hitting her heart, and she pales, struggles for a moment, and then falls lifeless, dead to the stones.
Oh my God.
And
what a fight,
it's just like it was so sick, like grabbing arrows out of the air and fooling her with the ATM. So like Vin's clearly very good at her. She's got very good skills in her. I think the biggest thing that she has going for her is her there's a word I want to use. Let me make sure I get this right. She is cunning. She's not just a good fighter. She's not just like good at, I can use this specific trait very well. Like she's using them in ways that other people just aren't. Or, I'm sure the Lord Ruler or Kelsier or some of these other people that are very well trained certainly might, but she is just on another level than even a well-trained Mistborn might be.
Right.
And it's stuff that's coming naturally to her. Like, she hasn't really been taught to, like, fool this person by turning off your... Right, she's clever. And I think some of that's going to come back to her upbringing and having to be clever to survive. But then some of it, I feel like there's something else going on with her, and that it's not just her training. Like, she is a little unnaturally good. And so I think I've had some theories before about her, maybe her genetic past and who might actually be her parents, or, who she's actually affiliated with, maybe the Lord Ruler himself. I don't know. Those are just theories, but I think something else is going on for sure.
Yeah, she's definitely extraordinary, without a doubt. Like, and Kelsier comments on it a lot. And with like Sacred and stuff, I mean, like it's definitely like a topic that they have, and he's clearly a good Mistborn as well. It's just one of my, I don't know. We're there, That was one of my favorite
We're there.
like fights in the book, man. There's some great ones, and that one is up there. I'm already looking forward to the next one, but yeah, dude, it's so good. We're like just at a great book, so I am loving it.
Yeah, it was sick. I really enjoyed it. I was like audibly gasping
Nice,
and laughing and like just out loud when I was reading it. So it was good.
That was exciting.
But we're gonna keep this train rolling just because we got a lot to cover. We already covered a lot, and we got more to cover. We want to knock this out for you guys. So the train's gonna keep rolling. So we're at 31 with another snack here. We're still with the Lord Ruler, and he's having some questions here of what history will say of him and what the historians will say. You know, he's brought chaos and conflict and hope to the world. He's not going to be forgotten, but what are they going to remember him for? A man who protected mankind or a tyrant who tried to make himself a legend? And so he's having some kind of conflicting thoughts about how people are going to see him and, you know, what is it here that he's doing? Is he saving mankind? Is he the, hero of ages, or is something else going on?
Or is he a tyrant, you know? Yeah, interesting. And you can definitely tell he's like very self-conscious of that, and like this is his vanity, right? Like he cares about how he wants to be remembered, and so he's wiping out all religions but his, and all, like records of stuff so that he could be remembered in like this positive light, but then it in turn creates the secondary thing. He's aware of it, like he brings it up right here. So yeah,
he's very introspective.
Yeah, I think so. Well, definitely in this journal of his. Go figure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Great point.
Yeah.
Into the meal of 31. We are in Clubs's in the hideout at Clubs's shop, and we've got Clubs, Kelsier, Breeze, Ham, Docs, and Spook all hanging out, and Says. Says is there too. So Says has made it from the party at Keep Venture and is here, and he was telling Kelsier about, what Vin and him had learned about what's going on with the houses, and that this is going to be the last party. And, he Says is like, I should kind of, and they have some banter here, but Says is like, I got to get going, and Kelsier's like, yeah, it's time for me to go out and cause some mayhem. And then the door slams open to the kitchen, and Vin's standing there silhouetted in her undergarments. And
covered in blood.
So just it's this crazy scene. I imagine like it being dark behind her and rainy and like lightning, and the lightning flashes and you can see her standing there,
dude. White shirt and shorts sprayed with blood. Like, oh my god. Yeah. It's like terrifying.
It's gnarly. So she they're like, oh my god, Vin, what happened to you? What happened to your dress?
Doxin.
All this stuff. Yeah.
What happened to your dress?
Yeah.
Like, of course he would say that. The first thing he says.
All the money we spent on that.
Oh, Doxin. Yeah, it's funny.
And so I love this here. She goes, hey, what's going on? And Spook is blushing because of her outfit, and Says is coming over to check her wounds, and Vince just says, I think I did something bad. I kind of killed Shanalariel. Dude, I just love that. She's like, I kind of killed her. Like, you kind of did, or you did? Like, And so they're obviously and kind of incredulous with this information, and they're like, you did what? And Vin's like, yep, she was a Mistborn. We fought. I won. And Kelsier's thinking, you killed a fully trained Mistborn? Like, you've only been practicing for 8 months. Like, how did this even happen?
Right.
And which, like, they don't even really bring up the other guy, like the other Mistborn, which I think we find out
smoked like easily. Yeah. He was nothing.
Yeah, and I think we hear later in this chapter that he might still be alive, which when we're talking with Lord Venture later, but she definitely murked a lot of people here. Some Mistings and then the Shan. So then they had this weird thing about like, her outfit and that like she needs to put something on, and she's like, why? And they're like, well, you're wearing undergarments. And she goes like, yeah, they're pretty much the clothes I would wear as a Scot. Like, what are you even talking about? And they're like, yes, but they're still undergarments, and it's the principle of the matter. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, who
Yeah,
cares? Like,
they're
we got
silly
some bigger fish
guys.
to fry here, guys.
They're silly guys.
Um, Continue on, and they start to get the story out of her. And Kelsier's thinking, he has a lot of, I think, very uh, empathetic might be the right word, or like he's finally thinking of
Like
her
guilty.
instead of himself a little bit. Like he's feeling guilty,
Yeah.
but he's like, she looks exhausted. She's so frail looking. I brought her into this, and so he's having these feelings about her. And like, but then he says she should know better than to get in this kind of trouble. Or this is what he's thinking, and he's saying, why would you do this? Why didn't you run? And she's saying, like, well, I couldn't run. They followed me. I had to strike while we were equally matched. And, how did you get into this in the first place? And, Vin kind of waits for a moment and kind of admits, well, she was going to kill Elend. And Kelsier's like, you did this over a boy, like very,
Yeah, he
I think this
loses
point,
it.
this, that this was going to come up eventually, and it's finally coming to a head now. Like, we knew, Kelsier knew, probably the rest of the crew knew, and it was just kind of a matter of time before something happened with him. And I think obviously this is what's happening. And so Kelsier's like, how did you do this? Why'd you do that? He's a nobleman. And then this is where Vin, who again I think is like literally the smartest person in the crew, like just
Yeah.
because they have
Yeah,
all
for
these
sure.
big plans, right? They've been thieving for such a long time, and they're such a solid crew. And then like Vin will be like, well, instead of doing this stupid plan, why don't we do this instead? And everyone's like, oh, Vin, that's genius. Thank you so much for saving us again. And so like here, she's pointing out very astutely that like you guys are noblemen. Like, yes, are you like ska by birth? Sure, but like you're not living the life of a ska. What do you even know about ska? You're here in your suits, drinking your nightcaps with your friends. You stalk your enemies in the night. Like, you're not a ska. What do you know about them? Like, when's the last time you slept in an
Yeah.
alley? When's the last time you thought you were going to die from a sickness? You know, she goes on and on about her kind of upbringing and the things she went through, and like they don't experience that kind of same stuff. And so she's like, don't talk to me about noblemen. You're just noblemen without titles. And she storms
Yeah.
out. And Kelsier's dumbfounded, and he's feeling ashamed and guilty, and he has nothing to say. Like, he has, for once, has nothing to say.
Yeah. Yeah. He got schooled.
Oh yeah, they all did.
Yeah,
They all
for
got
sure.
schooled, the whole crew. Which, I mean, I think it was coming. So,
Yeah. Well, that's a good point.
perspective change from, yeah, super good point. We're jumping to her now. She's up on the roof from a Kelsier perspective to Vin, and she's having a lot of rain thoughts. Yes, thank you. What do we
Gotcha.
do? Originally, I think the perspective changes were just like a big gong, like bong.
Yeah. Bong. Yeah. All right. We'll do those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've come a long way since we first tried
Yeah.
to edit these podcast episodes. So
Better times.
maybe one day we'll get good with sound effects.
Oh yeah. We'll throw them in there. Maybe soon.
So she's having some introspection herself here, and she's having a lot of Reen voices, and like, the only person that she should be angry about, is herself. And this is kind of in reference to, Ellen's betrayal and, everything with Kelsier, and, she needed to be angry at somebody. And he's saying, be angry at yourself. You're the one who let them close. Now they're going to leave you. The trap door, creaks open, and Kelsier comes out, and she's like, "Oh fuck, I don't want to talk to him right now." But she's feeling like they didn't actually deserve the things I said. I was just angry. And they talk about the mists
I
and
love
how
this.
it's comforting to see the mists, and like, isn't it nice out here? Like,
Yeah.
and he hands her a cloak, and um, he says, there are some things you can't hide from Vin. I know, I've tried, which is like a really, I think, good message. And she accepts the cloak, and he says, like, well, what happened tonight? Like, what really happened? And she admits, Ellen told me that he didn't want to be with me anymore. And he's like, Was this before or after you killed his former fiance? Great question. And she's like, oh, before.
Yeah,
And he's like,
it
well,
sounds.
you still protected him, like, and she's like, yeah, like I know I'm an idiot. And he's like,
I'm an
no.
idiot.
He gets really personal here and says, this is all about love, right? Like, I loved Mare, and even though she betrayed me, like nothing could change how I felt. And that's why it hurts so much. Finn thinks she's like, I finally understand what's going on and what Kelsier's thinking, like, why this is happening this way.
Right.
Um, and she again is saying, I loved him, I loved Ellen, and or I'm sorry, incorrect. Back that up. She's saying, I loved him, and he's saying, Ellen, yeah, I know, we just talked about that. And she's like, no, not Ellen, Reen. And so she's going through these feelings of like everyone leaving her, right? So Reen
Yeah.
left, well, first, really her mom. Mom
Yeah.
left her.
Yep.
And then Reen leaves her. And then she got close with Ellen, and Ellen left her. And now,
Right.
the only people she's got left is this crew. And she's like, when are you guys going to leave? And, he's
Right.
like, he doesn't really know what to say at first. And, she's kind of looking at him and she's very skeptical and thinking, like, what are you hiding from me? Is it dangerous? And he kind of, just brushes it off, really. And he kind of changes the subject and says, like, look, now you got blood all over my nice, dirty, pretend informant's clothing, is what he says to her. And, and that's how he kind of changes the subject. And so, um, yeah, it's just kind of weird how he doesn't really address her question. I don't know.
When are you
Some
gonna
weird
leave
stuff going
me?
on there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. He definitely avoids it. He kind of is like, um, yeah, because she's like, yeah, like you said, all those people had left, and so she's like, "You're planning on leaving?" And he goes, I don't know, like this job, the plan." That's the last thing that he says. So he really doesn't
right.
give her much more. Yeah, no, it's then he plays it off, starts joking like he does.
Yeah. So they talk a little bit about the ska, and like Ben kind of is apologizing. They get into this. As she's apologizing here, she's thinking, "Oh, like I do need to tell him some things." And she says, "House Venture has a weakness," and she brings up the ATM and
Oh,
how they
here we
mine the
go.
ATM. And Kelsier is shocked. He's got a sharp breath in. He says, "Of course."
Uh,
And that's how they pay the taxes. That's why they're so powerful. And so she just says, "Hey, don't do anything unless you have to." And he's like, "Well, okay, I can't promise you anything, but if there's another way, I'll let you know. But right now, Venture has to fall." And she says, "I understand." And she's like, "Well, now I've betrayed Ellen's too," and she's kind of betraying everybody she feels like here. But she's, um, you know, but she does agree that House Venture does need to be toppled. Um, and Kelsier's kind of staring off into the mist, and he's kind of scratching his scars. And she's like, "Oh yeah, like okay, yeah, it's the pits." And this is very interesting. Ben's like, "Hey,
yeah,
I
this
don't
is
think
interesting.
Mare betrayed you." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, that's nice of you to say." And she's like, "No, like the Inquisitors were waiting for you when you got to the center of the palace." He's like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Then they were waiting for us." He's like, "Well, yeah, but like we fought some guards and made some noise. And then when Mare and him went in, they were super quiet and stealthy." And Vin's like, "Hey, like Mare was an Allomancer, right? Because back then Kelsier was not an Allomancer. He was
No,
just a normal thief,
just
a
a dude.
ska thief. It was just Vin, and or I'm sorry, just Mare." And so Vin's saying, "She was an Allomancer. They could have sensed you coming." And he's like, "What are you talking about? We had a smoker with us, Red. Like, they killed him right away once we got there, the Inquisitors, but like he didn't even know where we were going. Like, so he couldn't have betrayed us." And she, Kelsier's like, "Yeah, and if you would have seen the way the Lord Ruler was thanking Mare about betraying us, like he was so genuine." And Vin's like, "Yes, I know, but Inquisitors can sense our allomancy when we're burning copper. This is her theory." And he's like, "Nope, impossible." She says, "I did it tonight. I punctured Shan's copper cloud to locate her and the other assassins, and that's how I got to Ellen in time." And he's like, no, like that can't be right. Like you're wrong. And she's saying it's happened before. I can feel the Lord Ruler's touch on my emotions even when I'm burning copper. And I swear that when I was hiding from the Inquisitor on the roof, when they were hunting me at the key or at the um, critic shop,
Critic Shaw.
that
Yeah.
yeah, that that he was able to find me, but he shouldn't have been able to. And what if hiding yourself by smoking isn't a simple matter of whether or not your copper is on? It depends on how strong you are in that, like in that metal, in that
Right.
with that
Right.
allomancy. And he's like,
It's a
well,
good
okay,
point.
maybe it could be possible. Yeah, I think it's a super good point. And she's like, that's what happened. Like the Inquisitors are super powerful. They can feel you just by you burning metals. Period. Like, once an Allomancer was snuck into the palace, aka Mare or them when they went in, like they
Right.
could feel
Right.
it. And that's why the Lord Ruler thanked her, because she was just an Allomancer burning tin. And that's how they found you. And he was kind of
Right.
troubled by this. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of putting his whole world perspective, shifting it. And he's like, do it now. Like, tell me what I'm burning. And so this is very interesting. So she does so, right? She does it just as how, uh, like, as Marsh had taught her. And she's trying to pick out what's going on and if there's some kind of rhythm nearby. And she feels something very strange, a slow pulsing like a far off drum. It's unlike any allomantic rhythm she'd felt before. And then that's it. That's all we get on that.
That's
That cuts
something
off. So like
else.
there's
Yeah.
something going on in this world, in the central
Yeah.
dominance, maybe radiating from
Jumanji.
Luthadel or something.
It's Jumanji.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, some animals are gonna run out of the jungle here. Run down the streets,
For sure. For sure.
Um, but the so that kind of goes away, and she focuses harder on Kelsier, and she starts to feel a familiar rhythm, and it is coming from him. And she's like, "Oh, it's pewter. You're burning pewter." And he's like, "Oh, okay, that's impossible. Like, do it again." And he's like, "10." And then she goes, "And now steel. You changed it." And he's like, "Bloody
As
hell!
soon
I
as I
can't believe you're
spoke.
doing this."
Yeah.
And Vin's like, "Yeah, I was right. You can feel allomantic pulses through copper. That they're quiet, but I guess you just have to focus hard enough." And he's like, "Vin, do you think allomancers have tried this before? Like, wouldn't you think that this would have been something we could have figured out?" And he's saying that he's even tried it. Someone would have noticed this, I think, in the before. And Vin's like, "Well, I don't know." And he says, "It must have to do with strength, like you said. Inquisitors can push and pull harder than any Mistborn, and so they're so strong that they can overwhelm someone else's metal." And she's saying, "Well, I'm not an Inquisitor, so that doesn't explain it for me." And he says, "Yeah, but you're strong, stronger than you have any right to be. You killed a full Mistborn tonight." She says, "Well, by luck, I tricked her." There's her cunning coming into play. And he goes, Allomancy's anything but tricks. Um, and she flushes here. And he's saying, like, the trick here is, and the number one thing I can teach you is, like, you just got to be confident, right? Like, you killed this person. Like, yes, you used trickery. Yes, you used your powers. Yes, you did all this stuff, but, own it and be confident in the fact that you did it. It's not because of one thing or the other. It's because of who you are and what you're capable of. And so, um, they have kind of some more back and forth about the group and apologizing and things she said. And he's like, these guys are good. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't say stupid things every once in a while, you're not going to fit in with us. So good way to end the perspective there. Um,
Yeah, agreed.
and then perspective changed to Elend.
Ooh.
And so Elend and Josties are hanging out in Josties' wagon, or carriage, I should say. They
Right.
are, they had fled, obviously, the study or the room where they were having their little philosophy meeting, and Ellen left the palace and went with Justice in his carriage, and they kind of took off. And obviously, some crazy things had happened in this night, and so,
Oh yeah.
But Ellen's thinking, like, what information did these spies gather on me while I was having my meeting? Do they know about the books? And he, at this point, has no idea that he almost got murked. And so Felt, which is a new character, which is one of House Venture spies, he climbs onto the carriage.
Felt.
And,
wait, you just say Felt? What?
Yeah.
Nice.
Felt, one of the House
Dope.
Venture chief spies.
I just remembered that name. Thanks. That's a name? That's a name?
Is it a name?
I forgot it, yeah.
It's very telling.
Yeah. Felt.
Right.
He's one of the chief spies. Yeah. He's one of the chief spies. Climbs into the carriage. Did. Yeah.
So he's here, and Felt's like, yep, the building's a woodcrafter's shop, my lord, run by one Master Clayton, which is, as we know, clubs. So they are Ellen's using the family spies to spy on Vin, and specifically where the carriage had dropped her off in the past. And he's like, why would Valette be here? And Felt, very astute here, says it's a front, or they think it's a front. There are several watch nests on on its roof and on the top floors, and the windows seem to be sealed up and stuff to keep in sound, so like sound can't be leaked. And he thinks that's it's
all these
underground
precautions.
Hideout.
Yeah,
right. Like someone is clearly taking some. It's tradecraft essentially, and they are taking these precautions to hide themselves. And they're saying that it's basically a ska thieving crew, which I mean is right on the money, right?
This guy's a good spy, dude. That's why I was so impressed.
So good.
He's such a good spy, and like he figured it all out. Yeah, it's bad. Yeah. It's bad news.
And yeah, it was very impressive and right on the nose. And so they are saying, Justice is like, really? Like a ska thieving crew? And Lady Valette's, part of that? And he's like, oh, yes, it's likely. And Alan's like, no, okay, like, don't break in. Call your men away. We've seen enough tonight. And, Justice is like, yes, I told you, you owe me an apology. I was right about her. And Ellen's still not convinced. He's like, he's actually kind of excited. He's got some relief going on, right? He feels that, like, wow, yes.
Yeah. she wasn't trying to spy on me. She's trying to rob me.
Yeah. So he's like, wow, it still is love.
I know. It was so good. I love that realization.
Very teeny bopper, like, thought, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
And Justice is like, only you would be relieved to find out someone's trying to steal from you. But he is saying, like, I feel like I know this girl and her emotions, like, they're just too real, too honest, like, they can't be false. And he's saying, like, she actually spent relatively little time with me to be, like, for me to be the target.
Right.
And, he's thinking, which this is exactly what it was, that meeting Valette was kind of a pleasant accident and an event that had thrown a terrible twist in both of their lives, which is absolutely exactly what happened.
Yeah, right.
He
kind of figures it out. He figures it out.
And so then Ellen kind of has this realization, and he's like, oh, Justice, she's ska. And she fooled me, and she fooled us, and she acted the part. And, Ellen's like, I can't believe I had a real ska thief with me. And then he's going back to his philosophy stuff here. Think of all the questions I could have asked her. It's interesting, kind of his line of thinking with all of this. we get the tidbit here that when he pushed her away earlier tonight, that he wanted her to believe totally and completely that he wanted to be done with her, but that's not true. He just wanted basically her to go away during this house war because he was scared for her welfare. And he's saying, I think I hurt her for no reason. And Justice is like, God damn it, Ellen, like, this is what you're talking about, and we had Allomancers like listening into us tonight, like
yeah,
they
trying to
decided
kill us,
kill us, like,
yeah.
and you're talking about this girl, like, and Ellen's like, yep, it's been a productive night, like, just yeah, he's in love, man, that's what it is, and so
for sure,
he has Justice take all their books, and he hops out. They're back at Keep Venture, and some servants will run up or guards, and they're like, yep, your father's looking for you. And he's like, yep, I knew he would be, like, take me there. And Ellen, gets up to dad, to Straff, and everything seems really tense. And of course she's like, where have you been? And he's like, oh, I left. And Lord Straff Venture says, okay, fine, like, go off and endanger yourself. In a way, it's too bad that Mistborn didn't catch you. They could have saved me a great deal of frustration. What a fucking doucher, dude. I hate this guy. You were so right. Like, when we first met him, and you're like, I don't like that man.
Boo.
He does suck.
I just couldn't help it, dude. Like, I've learned enough about him that I have my opinions. I don't like this guy.
Dude, you were right on, man.
That's how I feel about him.
I don't either. Yeah.
Yeah, he sucks.
And so Ellen's like, Mistborn, what Mistborn? And Venture says, oh, the one trying to kill you tonight. He learns here that it was an entire assassination team sent here for you and your friends, and that, he says, oh, our guards managed to kill one of them, and that's where he figures out that it's Shan, Alariel, and he keeps some info back about, I guess, because Ellen asks about the guy who fell through the skylight, and Venture says, oh, he's dead, broken neck. And Ellen's like, that's weird. Right. He was alive when we fled, so, like, what are you hiding from me? So, like, was that one of his men that was, like, guiding them, guiding Shan to the...
Oh, he's cleaning up his tracks.
Probably, right?
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. And... He's
on to him. He knows. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, I think so. And the other, the one that fell into the courtyard as he was trying to flee, he got away, but he might have been Mistborn too. So that's why I think that other Mistborn wasn't killed.
Okay, yeah. Just dealt with, I think, for the fight before Vin escapes.
Yeah, I think so. And, Venture has some more to say, it looks like, but he doesn't. And Ellen's like, oh, what? And he just won't say. He's like, nothing. Well, I guess he does say. He says some of the guards claim there was a third Mistborn, but I doubt the reports. It wasn't one of ours. Which I think is kind of telling too, right? Like, what? It wasn't one of ours. Like, so the other two were? Like, what are you talking about? And, Ellen's going through it like, oh, who's this third person? Like, and he says, maybe someone found out about the assassination and tried to stop it. Again, he's crushing it with these theories. Like, he's right on. And his dad's just like, you're an idiot. That's literally what he says. He says, you're an idiot. So Ellen, that, right? He goes back to his room.
Thanks.
Yeah, so stupid. Such a you silly boy. So Ellen doesn't go back to his room. He goes to a separate guest bedroom in the palace, sets some haze killers up around his room and on the balcony to watch him. And, he does believe that someone tried to basically stop the assassination, and he's hoping that's the kind of world that they could live in. And he's thinking that, like, that's the way I want it to be, but it's going to be a long time until I take the house title. And he wants to talk to Valette and explain his frustrations, and she'd understand what he's thinking. Oh yeah, Aunt Ska, like, I can't believe that. I've got so many questions for her. And he's like, later I'm going to talk about this. For now, I just need to keep my house together. He just needs to make sure his family survives this war. And he says, after that, well, perhaps they could find a way to work around the lies and the scams. Him and Val, or yeah, him and Villette, him and Vin. So, and then that's it. That's
True
31.
love.
Yeah.
True
Silly kiddos.
love. Lying and scamming to each other. Oh man. Well, what an exciting
foundation
what
of
an
a healthy
exciting 2
relationship.
chapters. Oh, for sure. Healthy foundation. Here in the start of the Cinderlanch, I'm loving it. We did great on time. We always catch up real good on time. At the end, I think big reveals. I loved the Shan reveal here. I was really looking forward to that fight. This chapter here, I just love the Straff kind of like showing his true colors, and Ellen, Ellen like working through his mind how he feels about Vin, and kind of double downing on that he loves her, but he really wants to like kind of try to keep his house alive. Like he doesn't want his father to die, even though we know that the feeling's not mutual there. And I love just like the banter. Dachshund's just like shaking down Vin, like, oh, I gotta get you a new dress, and like you have a scar on your face, like, oh, come on, like, what are you thinking about the next day, you Mistborns? So like, he's giving her crap, but he's also like, I think it comes from a place of love, and it's just his style,
Oh, for sure.
He's just a funny character. And Breeze shows concern over Vin and Ham. They're all the crew really loves Vin, and I think she's having a hard time seeing that right now, just because her confidence was so shook, and she thinks it's over with Ellen. So, it's a chapter, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. But Vin's still kicking. Shan's dead. Thank God. God, we hated her. We love Balls. Didn't like Shan.
Yeah, she was so nasty. What a nasty lady.
Yeah, she was nasty. So, good riddance, Shan. And looking forward to what's coming up next here on Shards and Shenanigans. What are you thinking there, Kyle? You got any closing thoughts for the audience?
I think we're going to see some pretty brutal stuff here with this house war, right? Like things are kicking off. And this is the next step in the Kelsier's crew's plan anyway. So like, not only are we going to start to see, I think, some major house strife and like lots of killing. And I think, probably some keeps or houses literally like being burnt to the ground would be my guess, but also that's gonna like trigger the plan. So I think probably very Sanderlanch-y, we're gonna have a lot to kind of cover and read between the nobility side, the plan side from the crew. How do those even, those are gonna intermix, I'm sure a little bit. Are Kelsey, or I'm sorry, is Vin and Ellen gonna get another chance to be back together?
What's going on with the ministry?
At some point.
Where's Marsh? What's
Where's
going on with Marsh?
Yeah, are they gonna
dealt with those?
Are they gonna take
stations?
out all those soothing stations? Yeah, we're right on the same track with that. So.
Yeah,
I think there's just a lot
what about
to
the Lord Ruler?
We're probably going to hop back and forth, Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
See if we can get him out of the city, I guess.
And what's with the thumping? What's with Jumanji? Boom, boom, boom. What is that?
Yeah, there's something going on there, and Vin's very good at picking it up. So again, I think.
Well, that and piercing the copper clouds. Like I love the way the terminology is, like pierce the copper cloud. Like that sounds really cool. It's got like a cool kind of visual to it for me. I like how the magic's working. So I'm loving it. Vin, super special. Inquisitors also like super powerful. Having like that's kind of like revelation too. I think one thing I did want to talk about is like it kind of like calls into question Kelsier's like whole, interpretation of that event, and like I think that's like a big thing, like something he hadn't even been able to consider, and it's like very logical.
Right.
So after Vin like figures it out,
he's
she's
been
like
carrying around this hurt,
you
right?
could be wrong. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
For
I
a
mean,
long
if
time.
he's been carrying around this hurt all these years, and he has, I mean, could you imagine feeling that kind of emotion and like, wow, this person that I thought loved me might have, basically signed my death sentence. Why did she do that? But I still love her, right? Like, you still have all this love for that person, and like, but you just feel betrayed, and then like now, 3 almost 4 years later, he's almost being absolved of that guilt and like the um those feelings that he's having. It's very interesting. I think it'd be this huge revelation and would really change your perspective on a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I just like it. She's like, always thinking about him and other people, about her crew. She really cares about the crew. So it's really special. And, like, yeah, when are you gonna leave me? Right? Like, think that's one of the things
Right.
she's really afraid of. Like, she doesn't want Kelsier to leave, right? Like, I think that would be even a harder blow for her than Ellen. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think she's scared of that. So, anyways, always good. Just like touching base on the
Well,
thoughts.
no, I think my last thing is I think that I'm just very excited to see like, she's smarter than the crew. She's more like stronger than the crew. Um, like what else is she gonna be better at than the crew? I think we're gonna find out some other
Yeah,
things probably because like she just is crushing it.
perhaps. We'll just have to read and find out there. Kyle, I like where your head's at. She is crushing it. She's pushing it. She's pulling it. It is, and it's great. I'm along for the ride, dude. I'm right there in the mists, flying in the night there with her. It's so fun, and Sanderson he really crushes it here in the start of the Sanderlanch, and I'm really digging it. He's coming in swinging. So yeah, explosive. Couple chapters. Looking forward to reading the next with y'all. I think we're about if we stay to schedule, we're about like 4 episodes left for Mistborn Era One. Mistborn Era One Book One. Don't worry, we got a couple more books in the era here. But yeah, go
Oh
ahead
yeah,
and give us some comments and some feedback. We love it. Huge shout out section.
we do love it.
Moms, shout out moms.
Hey mom.
Shout out to all of our listeners out there. We really appreciate it, and yeah, everybody
Mm,
taking the time to just like comment on stuff and interact. Like super cool.
for
We
sure.
we really appreciate that. So, and even if you're just listening,
Oh
thanks
definitely.
for sticking around and being on the ride. So, all right, that's all I got. What
Well,
do you
I
got,
want to
Kyle?
give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to someone
Oh,
on Facebook who's been commenting for us, Lance Barden. Thanks, Lance.
thanks,
We
Lance.
appreciate your support. Thanks for commenting and
Woo,
showing us some
hell
love.
yeah.
We really appreciate it. That's awesome. And also wanted to give another quick shout out to Joey B and to Ryan L, some friends who have been listening. We appreciate you
What?
guys for exploring this with us, and that's very very kind that we've got some
Thanks,
friends and
Joey.
family that would be willing to go on
Thanks, Ryan.
on the journey with us. And then
Yeah.
there's one more person.
Oh, we gotta thank
Uh,
Casey.
of
We've
course.
seen some great interaction with
Yep,
Casey. Thanks. Vuyek, my dude.
he's about it.
Thanks, buddy. We
He's
appreciate it.
about it. And then the last, I think we gotta hit him up again just because he was showing us so much love on
Edmund.
Spotify. Edmund,
Yeah, I knew it, dude. I'm so glad you brought him, Edmund.
dude,
Yeah,
thanks,
Edmund,
Edmund.
buddy. Thanks for
Sick.
listening, man. Yeah, we love it, dude. So yeah, big shout outs to everybody listening. Thanks. And shout out to Brandon Sanderson for a killer start to the Sanderland cheer. This is where I'm calling it. Please shout out in the comments if you feel like the Sanderland stands somewhere else. But yeah, let us know. We love your feedback. I'd love to talk to you about it.
Cool, man.
I'm just loving
That's
it.
awesome.
All right, buddy. Have a good night. Take care, Misty Boys. Shards and Shenanigans. Out.
Peace out, guys. See ya.